What's good, everybody? It's your boy, the Q-Tip, and we back with another video. We're here with some breaking news from the New York Liberty. They are deciding to let go of Sandy Brondello. And this is kind of shocking to me just because she is a championship head coach. She just won a championship with them last season. They obviously did not do what they wanted to do in winning back-to-back championships or even get to the finals. They obviously didn't even get out of the first round. So maybe that's a little bit of what's going on here. But when the two best players on their team were asked about it in a press conference right after the game, Stewie used some expletives, literally said, "What the blank," when they asked because, they want her as the coach. At least that's what it looked like on the outside. Um, Sabrina also had a dumbfounded look on her face of like, where's this coming from type of thing. So I find it interesting that they still let her go, even if the two best players and the two players that you would think they would want the most to come back is gone. But this is really just the start to an insane WNBA offseason. Almost every player, I want to say every vet is a free agent this year, including Stewie and Sabrina. Players like Asia, Fee, Jackie Young, Kelsey Mitchell, Jewel Lloyd, Kalia Copper, Arike Agumbawale, Gabby Williams, Satu Sabali, Alyssa Thomas, Skylar, K-Mac, KP, De'Erica Hamby, like, the list goes on and on. Neko Gumake, Azare Stevens, Jonquel Jones, like, Alicia Gray, like, almost every player is a free agent. So the movement that's gonna happen or could happen this offseason is already gonna be, I don't want to say like, what's the word I'm looking for? Is gonna be something we haven't seen before. I'm trying to think of the word for something we haven't seen before, but I can't think of it right now. So, monumental. It's going to be monumental. It has the possibility of being one of the biggest offseasons we've ever seen in sports, honestly. With the CBA deal coming up, we got Unrivaled going on, with them bringing in some young players like Paige and things like that. There's a lot to go on. There's a lot that could happen over the next couple of months. And the playoffs ain't even over yet. Like, we don't even know who the champion is, and we're already getting coaches getting fired. And not to mention the way that Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky season ended. And just, we're getting so much different stuff, and we truly don't know what's going to happen. Like I mentioned, we have all these free agents. We have an expansion draft with two teams coming in. So players that are still on rosters have to be protected. If they're not, they could be going to Portland. They could be going to Toronto, which, based off of what we've seen in Golden State, may not be the worst thing, but, it just, you never know what's going to happen. So, it's just kind of wild that Sandy Brondello was let go to me, just because I wouldn't say the Liberty failed in their quest over the last 3 years, but they do only have one championship to speak for all the money that was spent and put into this roster. The first season, I think, was a little bit of just lack of continuity, something that Kelsey Plum said that came back to bite her the next year. But I think it was a lack of continuity and a lack of just togetherness in that first season. You just put together a bunch of talent, and they ran into a team that had been together for years, had known exactly what they needed to do, and were just super hungry for their own back-to-back. And then the next year, they were able to get over that hump and get past the Minnesota Lynx. They beat the Aces in the second round, or in the semis. They were able to get past the Minnesota Lynx in the finals and ultimately bring the first championship in New York Liberty history to the franchise. So you would think that would give her some cachet. And I would also say, like, I don't think they lost this year due to lack of talent or due to, now granted, the game 3 was bad. Game 3 was bad by a lot of players on the team, but I don't think you can blame that on Sandy Brondello. I think the way they started out the season was the way they would have played throughout the season had they not had injuries. Stewie went out for a while. Then Jonquel went out for a while. And then when they got both of them back, then Sabrina went out with a toe injury. They played the season without Benaja Laney Hamilton. So there was a lot of different pieces that were mixing and matching. And I felt like she should have got a little bit more of a benefit of the doubt, just because, she's a championship level head coach. Like, where are you going to find a coach better than her on the market right now? Like, it's not like there's just thousands and hundreds of WNBA like coaches that are just out there, and like, it's different than the NBA because you have so many assistant coaches and former coaches that are just not sitting around, but are doing like broadcasting or whatever the case may be, that you can go call and be like, hey, let's do an interview. Or former players, like, they don't really give former players in the W as much. And I would say former players, like the great former players, like the Lisa Leslies, who have gone through the process time and time again. So I'm curious to see where they go, because you see this happen in the NBA and you see this happen in the NFL, but there's a lot more. There's a lot more options out there. There's a lot more candidates. I don't know who the Liberty are looking at or who they're going to find as a head coach. And I don't know if Stewie and Sabrina are going to want to stay now that their head coach is gone. And that's the biggest piece of this puzzle is, do Stewie and Sabrina decide to go elsewhere? Because the options are there. There are a lot of teams that are willing to pay now. There are a lot of teams that have the same kind of facilities and owners that have the same kind of money that the size do. So it's a level playing field for the most part now, with at least 5 to 6 teams in the WNBA, and then you still add these other teams that are coming in. It's not just the Liberty and the Aces spending money. There's a lot of teams that are willing to spend money, a lot of owners that are willing to spend money, and especially if you're able to get a player like a Brianna Stewart or a Sabrina to your team, depending on what your team is going to look like, or depending on what your team already looks like, could catapult you to new levels in terms of money, marketing, and winning. So the Liberty have some things to figure out. They definitely need to have some conversations before. I don't know when their exit interviews are. Maybe they already did them. But they definitely need to have some conversations with Stewie and Sabrina, John Quell, like, see what they're thinking, see what the thought process was behind Sandy Brondello getting fired. Maybe they knew. I don't know. I'm going based off of what I saw in the press conference, and I'm taking them at face value of saying, no, we want her here. She's no longer there, so it obviously changes. Like, if Becky Hammond were to be fired, Asia Wilson, Jackie Young, Chelsea Gray would all have a say in it. Or not say in it, but they would have something to say about it. They would be kind of dumbfounded, which I'm sure the Liberty players might be. Now, maybe the size didn't want to keep spending as much money on a roster. Maybe they think there's a better coach for this team, which I think is kind of crazy considering they got to 2 WNBA finals, were really a shot away from forcing a Game 5 in 2023, and then won it last year, like I said, and then this year dealt with some injuries and ran into a really good team in the first round. So I don't know what the complete thought process is, but I do know I think this is going to be the biggest WNBA offseason in its history. I think the amount of eyes that are going to be on it throughout this offseason, and the amount of possibilities and things that could happen. I think it's not only are teams willing to spend, you also have young players that are at the forefront of the WNBA, both in talent and marketing, like Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, Angel Reese, Sonia Citron, Kiki Iriafen, sorry. Dominique Malonga looked fantastic. Like, there's Golden State looked great with a young team. So there's a lot of young players that some players are going to want to look at and like, hey, I might want to go play over there. Like, there's so many different possibilities that could happen this offseason. And we're not even talking about the draft yet. Like, there's still a WNBA draft too. So there's still so much that's going to be added. I genuinely believe this is going to be the biggest WNBA offseason in its history. I want to know what y'all's thoughts are on this offseason and what y'all think could happen with certain teams. Do you think teams like the Aces and the Liberty continue to run the same core? Even Minnesota. I think Minnesota is one of those teams that feels pretty good with the core they have. I think they may add around it. What happens with the Storm? What happens with the Dream? What happens with the Mercury, depending on how the rest of the season or this playoffs go? What happens with the Fever? Like, there are so many questions. There are so many different things that we could see from different teams. You just truly never know. You really never know what's going to happen when. And we don't even know if the CBA deal is going to get done. We could have a lockout. Like, Unrivaled is going to be a huge piece to what the WNBA is going to look like next season. Make sure you guys stay tapped in with what we got going on over here. When I say we, I mean me. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let me know how you feel in the comments. And, yeah, man, just keep rocking with me. You know we're going to keep going. Thank you.